evening from wherever you're joining. Welcome to the Cities on the Frontline speaker series session with Climate Resilience. I am Fitsegalai and I'm from the Resilient Cities Network, and I'll be one of your co-hosts for today's session, along with Gurcho Van Dijk from Orbia. Before we begin, let me give you a bit of an introduction to the series and the ground rules. Cities on the Frontline is a virtual thought leadership speaker series featuring solutions by cities for cities. It began in 2020 through a partnership between the Resilient Cities Network and the World Bank. The World Bank City Resilience Program. The series provides city practitioners with a platform for knowledge exchange. The first session of the Cities of the Frontline speaker series of this year of 2024 is hosted with the support of Orbia and also in collaboration with the World Bank. This is a very particularly important session for us at the Resilient Cities Network, as our member cities are grappling with the compounding impacts of a changing climates, and we're supporting them in addressing these climate-induced impacts, particularly water risks, ensuring that they're building water resilience, advancing nature-based solutions, and centering vulnerable communities at the center of their urban transition. So I'm very excited to learn from our panelists today. Before we begin, let me remind you of the intentions of the speaker series and the ground rules for the conversation today. The purpose of this global seminar is to have an open and honest learning conversation. The calls are not on and what is discussed here is not on the record, and we ask you to not attribute any comments unless you have the persons or the panelists expressed permission to do so. We're happy to help facilitate this if needed. As we both have English and Spanish speaking panelists on the webinar today, you can access the Spanish and English interpretation support if needed. To access this option in your meeting or webinar controls, please click below, click on interpretation, and click the language that you would like to hear. You'll also be able to hear the original audio at a low volume, but you can choose to mute that if need be. To hear the interpreted language only, click the mute original audio button. We have around 700 registered participants for today. So to facilitate this discussion, we ask you to write your questions on the Q&A function also at the bottom of the screen. And Gurcho and I will facilitate these questions at the second half of the session. Please note that the recordings for this session, as well as all the PowerPoint presentations shared today, will be hosted next week on our websites. And with that, I would like to kindly invite Gurcho, my co-host and the Global Product Manager for Urban Climate Resilience at Orbia, to speak briefly about our partnership, explain the session today, and introduce our panelists. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Fitze. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. I am indeed your co-host, and I am going to introduce our panelists, but before I do that, I would like to explain why Orbia is cooperating with the Resilient Cities Network and what this webinar is about. Well, Orbia is a purpose-driven company aiming at advanced light around the world. We do that by addressing several global challenges and SDGs with 5 different business groups. The business group I am working for, Building and Infrastructure, focuses on sanitation and water management, as well as climate resilience. We do that based on 4 pillars. First of all, ensuring safe and efficient water supply, creating better sanitation and hygiene, building climate resilient cities, and enabling better building performance. In the global marketplace, we are known under the brand of Wavin in Europe, Wavin Vectis in India, Wavin and Bo in North America, and in Latin America under Plastigama, Amanco, and Pavco Wavin. If I zoom into the topic of urban climate resilience, we used to say there is no green without blue, as plants need water. But green also contributes significantly to better water management, and additionally to heat reduction, amongst many other benefits in our urban environment. So we supply solutions for stormwater management, such as underground detention and retention and infiltration systems, as well as blue-green infrastructure, such as retention roofs, tree growing places, rain gardens, what have you. And our ambition is to build climate resilient cities, and that connects us with the Resilient Cities Network. We are sharing the ambition. Resilient Cities does that by bringing people and knowledge together, and we bring solutions. However, our solutions are just a part of a complete project, or a complete development, or even a complete transition. So to successfully execute these, cities face the complexity that comes with different functions like infrastructure, water, green, business, industries, housing, etc. So that is why we have invited experts that have faced this complexity. So let me introduce our panelists. First of all, we have a grande dame in urban planning. She has more than 30 decades of experience, and she got a PhD with excellence. She started her career with the municipality of Sao Paulo, worked as professor, consultant, and even in banking. 15 years ago already, she worked on the climate action plan for Sao Paulo, and now she's managing the urban planning department at Ramboll, and was closely involved in the climate adaptation strategy for Rio de Janeiro. Please welcome Dr. Andrea Devecchi. With a background in biology and in environmental health, we have a man with a true green heart. Since 10 years, he has been a leader in spatial planning. Besides managing projects with advanced monitoring techniques, he is the lead of planning for the Metropolitan of Guadalajara. He will share now how these different areas of expertise come together and lead to urban climate resilience. Thanks for being with us, Dr. Josué Díaz Vázquez. Last but not least, from the city of Zwolle, and as a Dutch national, I can say this is one of the most ambitious cities when it comes to climate resilient cities here in the Netherlands. And that's not just because they have an aspiring green-blue strategy, but it's also due to its challenging location and its efforts to exchange knowledge and accelerate climate adaptation by hosting a true climate campus. This man works at the heart of the Zwolle Climate Resilience Plan, and while he is also leading his own spatial planning consultancy firm. Welcome, Lennart Berends. So let me step to the next phase of this webinar, which will be the questions to our panelists. I will ask 3 questions to our panel. I will ask 1 question to our 3 panelists, and please answer those, and then we will be following with the second round on that as well. So what I would like you to answer is water is playing a pivotal role in building climate resilient cities. There are all kinds of water-related risks, such as floods, droughts, heat waves, water scarcity, and those are exacerbated by climate change. The cities you present are leading the way in investing in resilience and water systems, as building all kinds of solutions to mitigate water risks, particularly through blue and green and hybrid interventions. So my question is, what strategies and studies has your cities developed to address and prepare for the complex and compounding impact of climate change, including floods, droughts, heat waves, and water scarcity? And what role does these investments play, particularly for blue, green, and hybrid interventions? And how critical are these to reach your ambitions? So may I give the first of all the floor to Dr. Alejandra Devecchi. Alejandra, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And I have this presentation in order to show the ideas and answer the question. Let me put in presentation mode. Is okay, the presentation? Yes. Well, first of all, I have to say that Ramboll has developed this work under a contract with C40 and the municipality of Rio de Janeiro during the year of 2020. Ramboll Denmark was the leading office dealing with this work. And Denmark Cronin, the person also who was leading involved in this work. First of all, it was developed a climate risk analysis considering different hazards. The hazards were climate heat waves, floods, sliding, and sea level rise. And what we have found in this analysis? Well, here we have the maps with the situation, the landslide susceptibility map, and you can see all in red all the big problems. Also the flooding map with in red all the big problems. The sea level rise, all the situation here. And the heat wave, we consider the heat wave the most dangerous problems because here we have temperature leading with 50 degrees Celsius. 50 is too much high. We have already this in place in Rio. And the conclusions were that here we have the main neighborhoods where you have the different problems. For living with these problems, we designed a guide, a climate adaptation guide, in order to serve as an inspiration to what can be implemented in Rio by applying a holistic approach. Its baseline was set up by the output of the climate risk assessment, and it's based on 6 adaptations strategies, covering a number of different scenarios, combining hazards and different urban locations. Here we have the 6 solutions that we have designed. First, the stormwater park, detention boulevard, urban fringe buffer zone, urban canal restoration, livable shoreline, and coastal protections. All these typologies were based on a blue-green infrastructure toolkit controlling quality of water and quantity of water, using all these natural processes: biological absorption, filtration, infiltration, and recycling, and the quantity control dealing with evaporation, conveyance, detention, retention, and storage. And also we have designed an adaptation toolkit showing the probable solutions. So level roof, permeable pavements, beer swales, foodable park, stream widening, and underground basin. So I think that's all, and then I will explain better the strategies. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting to see, and I hope we can deep dive in a second, in the next question a little bit deeper. That would be great. Dr. Josué Vázquez, could you explain how Guadalajara has been dealing with strategies and studies counter climate change and make cities more climate resilient.
Hola, hola a todos. ¿Sí se ve mi presentación?
We see it now in editor mode.
Denme 2 segundos. Bueno, por alguna razón no me deja interactuar, pero si se ve, desde aquí se las platico. La ciudad el área metropolitana de Guadalajara se encuentra en Jalisco, en el estado de Jalisco, en México. Es un área metropolitana que cuenta con alrededor de 5 millones de habitantes y 796 kilómetros cuadrados de área conurbada. Son 9 municipios los que pertenecen a esta área metropolitana y como todas las grandes ciudades en el mundo o ciudades medianas, compartimos la misma problemática. Los efectos del cambio climático se ven directamente relacionados en muchos factores. El nuestro es un tema de disponibilidad de agua que ha sido abordado desde hace 6 años de una manera integral con el objetivo de alcanzar una resiliencia metropolitana más asertiva en el tiempo. Para ello, se han hecho muchas obras enfocadas en la obtención de agua superficial. Principalmente la obtenemos de 2 grandes fuentes, que es el lago de Chapala y la presa de Calderón, a través del río Verde y el río Santiago, que son nuestras fuentes de abastecimiento más importantes. Este abastecimiento cubre una cobertura de alrededor del 70% de los habitantes. Sin embargo, notamos, o más bien se dejó de lado por muchos años el tema de el agua subterránea. El agua subterránea que se calculaba hace 8 o 9 años que respondía al un 30% del abastecimiento de toda el área metropolitana. A partir de eso nos hicimos a la tarea de obtener información. Una ciudad resiliente es aquella que cuenta con información precisa y para ello se realizó un estudio de agua subterránea que nos permitía conocer exactamente el estado de que guarda el agua y poder generar medidas específicas para el control de la misma, el agua subterránea. Lo que ustedes ven aquí en este mapa es un mapa que nos permite conocer la cobertura que tiene el sistema intermunicipal de agua de la ciudad, y el primer gran dato que encontramos fue que toda la política pública de agua se estaba dando justamente nada más con el sistema de abastecimiento, ¿sí? Y lo que pueden ver en verde, ¿sí?, es el sistema de abastecimiento, y todo lo que queda afuera no está contemplado en la política pública del Estado. Entonces, de ahí que el agua subterránea toma una gran relevancia para la toma de decisiones, y entonces ya pasamos de un 30% a un 40% de abastecimiento de agua subterránea en el Estado. A partir de ahí tenemos, decir, ¿por qué es necesario conocer esto? El primero tenemos muy pocos estudios en todo México relacionados con el agua subterránea y cómo se comporta. Se hicieron estudios en los años 70, y a partir de ahí no ha habido una actualización en gran parte de las ciudades. Para el área metropolitana de Guadalajara, el 40% de abastecimiento es una gran cantidad de agua, ¿sí?, que está contemplada en el subsuelo, pero que no se tomaba en cuenta para la política pública. gran parte de los habitantes que están fuera del sistema de abastecimiento, no gran parte, todos, ¿sí? Dependen de esta agua y por ello es necesario tener o conocer la capacidad que tenemos para recargar nuestros mantos acuíferos y con ello también saber cuáles son más vulnerables a temas de contaminación. El objetivo general simplemente era 4, ¿no? El primero, que es bien importante, era delimitar los acuíferos. Actualmente en México tiene una delimitación de acuíferos que son más de carácter administrativo. Y entonces las fronteras que tienen entre un acuífero y otra pues son prácticamente creadas por el hombre y no son una realidad de dónde se concentra el agua. Entonces había que tener una delimitación específica del acuífero, delimitar aquellas zonas que son las de recarga para poder generar política pública y con ello también integrar estas formas de soluciones en base a la naturaleza para que nos permitan tener una mejor recarga. Aquellas zonas que tienen que ser confinadas porque pueden poner en riesgo por su vulnerabilidad este recurso natural y por supuesto un sistema de monitoreo que nos permitiera o que nos pueda permitir estar constantemente monitoreando el acuífero. Para ello se utilizaron 2 métodos. Estos 2 métodos son utilizados por el Servicio Forestal, por la EPA y por el Servicio Científico de Estados Unidos, y es el método GOD y el método DRASTIC. Ambos nos permiten a través de una cartografía tener un primer acercamiento a la determinación de la vulnerabilidad y la recarga, y por otro lado, a través de estudios de campo y bibliografía que tenemos a lo largo del tiempo, poder definir estas grandes zonas de recarga. Los principales resultados son 3. El primero es la determinación de los acuíferos. Ahora sabemos exactamente dónde se concentra el agua y hacia dónde corre esa agua. Es decir, al igual que la superficie, tenemos un flujo de agua y sabemos de dónde a dónde corre esa agua subterránea. Estos sistemas los pueden ver aquí, son 6 sistemas geohidrológicos y sus flujos, que eso no lo teníamos anteriormente, ya lo conocemos. La segunda gran resultado es este mapa que nos permite identificar aquellas zonas donde se da la mayor recarga relativa de agua en el área metropolitana de Guadalajara, resaltando justamente muchas zonas que están muy pegadas a la zona ya urbanizada, que anteriormente se consideraban como reservas urbanas y que a partir de este estudio el uso de suelo tendrá que modificarse. Y por otro lado, aquellas zonas que son más vulnerables, ¿sí? En donde podemos tener un efecto negativo si se llega a dar un problema de contaminación y nos afecta a principalmente los 5 millones de habitantes. Todo esto lo ligamos a la planeación urbana. Tenemos un plan de ordenamiento territorial metropolitano que nos permite zonificar, dar usos específicos, pero también poder bajar proyectos específicos como sería la infraestructura verde o azul para justamente resguardar los servicios ecosistémicos y promover los servicios ecosistémicos intraurbanos. Nos permite zonificar, las bases de zonificación nos permite decir dónde sí y dónde no debemos de construir y qué es lo que podemos construir, dónde podemos poner un espacio público enfocado justamente a la recarga y al espacio verde específico. Nos permite tomar decisiones a futuro, no nomás en el presente, sino nos permite modelar el futuro y el agua subterránea se convierte en el recurso, ¿sí? La reserva hídrica más importante para la ciudad. Este es el sistema de pozos que se está proponiendo. Es un sistema que nos permite monitorear constantemente los acuíferos y no nomás tener una película estática de cómo se encuentra hoy en día, sino cómo se comporta a lo largo del tiempo. Y las pisiometrías nos permiten ver cómo está el pozo en su estado actual y no nomás las salidas, que normalmente es como se cuantifica el agua subterránea, sino tenemos que saber cómo se comporta internamente. A final de cuentas, este estudio se va a convertir en una herramienta fundamental para la toma de decisiones en el gobierno, para el gobierno del estado, tomando en cuenta que en el estado de Jalisco hay 8 millones de habitantes y 5 millones de ellos están en la ciudad. Entonces, las implicaciones en temas de resiliencia son fundamentales, especialmente hablando de agua subterránea. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, and for showing us how important getting insights on not only what's on the surface, but especially what is below the surface happening. That is a key insight to making cities resilient. Thank you for sharing that. Lennart Berends, can you share with us what the strategy for Zwolle is?
Yes, of course. Let me share my screen. Thank you, Gertjo, for the introduction. And I will take you on a short journey for the presentation on how is Zwolle the strategic part for coping with climate change. And for the most of you, I don't think that you know where Zwolle is located in the Netherlands. So on the top right corner, I have a pinpoint where Zwolle is located. And what makes Zwolle unique, just as every city in the Netherlands is unique for itself, Zwolle is the delta of the Netherlands on smaller scale. As you can see on the map, we've got a few water systems surrounding the city, but also partially going through the city center. And we've got the big lakes connected to our sweet water supply from the west. Therefore, flooding and stormwater are big problems for Zwolle. As you can see in this presentation, we've got dikes, we've got sewage treatment plants, we've got some nature, but we also have a livable city. For the moment, we have roughly about 120,000 inhabitants. For the numbers that we just saw with Jose, that's peanuts. But for Dutch province cities, it's a big number. And we also have to face some new growth problems, and the city has to scale up to roughly about 150,000. So it's almost a plus of 20% of inhabitants for Zwolle city and the area. And how can you do that to maintain a livable city? And also, how do you face the climate changes ahead of us? And the Dutch Government Institute, KNMI, has some scenarios developed on the most recent insights. And therefore, we have 4 types of scenarios, where one is on the highest CO2 emissions on a drier climate, or still maintaining the high CO2 emissions and a wetter climate, more wet climate, or we can maintain our goals for the Paris Agreement and the results for low CO2 emissions, but still the climate change into a drier climate or a wetter climate. And how is the effect will be on different types of that will help us to maintain a livable city. We've got also the sea level rises, strong increase of droughts. Summer showers are more frequent and more intense. And the winters are not as cold as we used to have. But so no more skating, but more water problems, and therefore more problems on our infrastructure. And how can we maintain Zwolle as still a livable city? Therefore, we developed two types of framework. The one is more a water framework. That's on the left. That's the blue structural grid, where we can direct and avert water to in types of problems. And on the right, there's a green structure that we want to maintain and build back better. So we have our green-blue structure. And we're trying to build this, and therefore we developed as the city a 7 type of climate adaptive principles, how we are focusing for each project, no big or small, how we can help to maintain a livable city. They are here written out, but the mainly focus is new is helping existing problems to keep ahead of existing problems. And even if you're making small adjustments, you always look at the regional and system levels, so you can develop a bigger and stronger city with even more inhabitants. Thank you, Gertjo. Gertjo, you are still on mute.
Thank you very much, Lennart. I'm curious to see how that is also working out. Fitz, may I give you back the floor to you?
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you so much for the panelists for giving us insight into how their planning processes are, or they're using their planning processes to address the impacts of climate change. But as we all know, it's critical to link these visions to practice, and especially at a time where the world is grappling with the compounding impacts of climate change. We want to hear from our panelists how their cities are linking these strategies, these assessments, the studies that they just discussed to action on the ground. So Dr. Alejandra, Dr. Jose, and Lennart, how is your work linking to actionable initiatives on the ground? Anything or any initiative you would like to highlight? And what challenges and opportunities have you faced in this work? Beginning with Dr. Alejandra, over to you. We can see your slides.
Okay, thank you so much. Let us start showing and explaining the 6 typologies that I was showing before. I would like to make some remarks related to the characteristics of Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro is one of the biggest cities of Latin America. It has almost 7 million people in the metropolitan regions with 30 million people. We have also 30% of the population is poor and living on the hills. So they are very prone to all these hazards, sliding problems and flooding problems. And whenever it rains, we have that. So it's a big issue, the climate adaptation. So now I'm talking about the solutions. We have created a stormwater park that is targeting heat wave and flooding. It is designing to handle every rain events, as well to detain large volume of stormwater, creating a parallel system to the traditional underground drainage system. It works with bioswales, permeable pavements, underground basin, tree cisterns, rain gardens. During stream events, the recreational areas will be used for water detention. So this is more or less all the solutions that are in place in the stormwater parks. So we have here relevant case study. Yeah, I'm not going to explain this now. And also to show you the second strategy that we call detention boulevard. The detention boulevard works with the same strategies of controlling quantity and quality of water runoff that those used in the previous solution. However, it is used the streetscape as the main place for implementing the solutions. The detention boulevard is designed to handle everyday rain with blue-green infrastructure implemented within car lanes. It will support the underground system with conveyance, infiltration, and detention solutions. And here we can see an example of how we imagine that this will work. And another example, this example is in Denmark. And if you want more details, you can write to me. And the last solution that I want to show with you is what we call urban canal restoration. It's well known that the creek system performs a key role in the macro drainage equation of the city, mainly when we have a place with a very complex topography. I don't know if you have the opportunity of knowing Rio de Janeiro, but Rio de Janeiro is known by all these hills, you know, Pão de Açúcar. And here we have one of these hills and all the creek system draining to the sea. So it's very important to restore this system, because most of these creeks are underground, were canal with concrete and are underground. So we need to restore, to start to recover the functioning of this natural system, you know. The banks of the system. Let me return to the previous. Okay. The banks of the system will be restored, allowing that during the stream events, the storage capacity could be maximized. The restoration of the canal will include low vegetation, you know, on the banks, and large vegetation along the canal, providing shading and thermal control. And what is important to say? Which are the implementation pathway and next steps? It's important to spread the idea generation related to blue-green infrastructure. You know, it's important to acknowledge that you have different solutions for different situations. It's also important to say that we are not going to not more work with underground systems, but the blue-green infrastructure is going to support the underground systems with different solutions. This is really, really important. The second point is that we need a transdisciplinary analysis. We need, if we thought about the system of secretaries of a city agency, of a city prefecture, you can see a silo approach. You have the environmental agency, the housing agency, infrastructure agency, and within blue infrastructure, we need a cross-cutting analysis of all this point of view. So this is an opportunity to move from the silos approach to a holistic approach, disseminating these ideas as well within the university, because the university is also structured as a silos approach. So we need a cross-cutting analysis. Also, it's important to define policies, promote policy change to work towards climate resilience to blue-green infrastructure at all levels within the city. And also, it's important, the master planning process. where you have a holistic and interactive GIS planning tool analyzing all the watershed system, resulting in a pipeline of projects. And of course, we need to implement at first pilot projects, pilot studies, where we show the success of the solution. Well, this is my reflection on the issue, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alejandra, sharing with us opportunities on blue-green planning, as well as what next steps need to be taken and considerations need to be taken. I'll move the question now to Dr. Josué. After the completion of this groundwater reserve study, please let us know what the next steps are, or what you're encountering around implementing the outcomes of the strategy.
Claro, vuelvo a compartir mi pantalla. Para nosotros es fundamental contar con esta información, porque nos va a permitir en este instrumento de usos de suelo, que es el Plan de Ordenamiento Territorial Metropolitano, redefinir las zonas donde se puede y no se puede realizar alguna acción urbanística, principalmente enfocada a ampliar la mancha de concreto. Reconocemos con esta información que antes la intuíamos, sabíamos más o menos, pero era complicado de pronto técnicamente poner de acuerdo a todos los sectores que influyen en el territorio. A partir de que tenemos este estudio, nosotros ya podemos tener información técnica para decir a los sectores, a ver, si queremos tener una metrópoli resiliente, una metrópoli sustentable, necesitamos pensar en cómo reacomodar nuestros usos de suelo. Si queremos que se instale nueva industria, si queremos que se instalen nuevos centros de vivienda, nuevos centros comerciales, pues estos tendrán que ser ubicados en las zonas donde no pongan en riesgo el sustento que le dé esta viabilidad a la ciudad. La ciudad de Guadalajara es una ciudad que tiene mucho potencial de desarrollo. No tenemos, ahora yo digo lo mismo que en la anterior, no tenemos la cantidad que tiene Río de gente, pero no queremos llegar a un nivel de crecimiento exponencial que ponga en riesgo lo que ahorita es muy atractivo. Tenemos un nivel de crecimiento muy grande, tenemos empresas internacionales que están buscando o están viendo el área metropolitana de Guadalajara como el lugar para instalarse, pero justamente porque tenemos ese atractivo, ¿no? Tenemos los recursos, tenemos la movilidad, tenemos la cercanía con otras instancias y estamos en el centro prácticamente de México, entonces nos permite ser ese atractivo, pero tenemos que cuidar mucho y estos instrumentos nos ayudan para eso. Tengo aquí otro instrumento que para nosotros fue fundamental y que tiene que ver mucho con esta plática que tenemos ahorita, que tiene que ver justamente con la infraestructura verde con la que cuenta la ciudad. Y una parte importante también fue identificar, bueno, dónde encontramos estas zonas que son ya dentro de la ciudad, que nos permiten también atender problemas específicos como inundaciones. Como todos están sufriendo, al igual que nosotros, cada vez, por ejemplo, en Guadalajara cae más agua en menos tiempo. Y entonces de pronto dicen, oye, pues no tienen problemas de sequía. Digo, pues el problema no es ese, el problema es que no tenemos la capacidad, el territorio no tiene la capacidad para retener toda el agua que cae en poco tiempo. Un ejemplo muy claro que tenemos es en la costa de Jalisco. Cuando uno ve las estadísticas, dice, no, bueno, es que el año pasado llovió el doble que hace 10 años o 5 años. ¿Por qué tienen problemas de sequía? Y es que el problema es que en el año pasado cayó todo el agua de un año en un solo día. Y entonces, pues sí, estadísticamente hablando, los números anuales, pues dices, cayó mucha agua, pero lo cierto es que toda esa agua no se infiltró, se fue al mar y tenemos serios problemas de sequía con todo y que está cayendo mucha agua. Entonces, la ciudad está sufriendo lo mismo. De pronto tenemos estas lluvias torrenciales en donde en pocos minutos cae una cantidad exorbitante de agua, se inunda todo y esa agua se va a nuestro sistema de drenaje natural, que es el río Santiago, y entonces esa agua corre. Lo que estamos tratando de hacer es con estas políticas de uso de suelo es justamente evitar la pérdida de esa agua, poderla retener digamos, en el sistema más económico que existe, que es el manto freático. ¿Sí? Yo siempre en mis presentaciones uso el ejemplo de Holanda, que Holanda tiene una recuperación de agua muy interesante a través de sus bosques y aprendiendo las lecciones de otros países en donde la inversión en infraestructura muchas veces es mucho más cara y no resuelve el problema, ¿cómo lo podría resolver un sistema natural? Y bueno, aquí lo dejo para las siguientes preguntas. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jose. Lennart, over to you to share any information or on initiatives that Zwolle is leading on this topic.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Let me go back on my slide and walk you through. As I mentioned earlier, we're working on a blue and green structure through the entire city, but something like that isn't, of course, built in just one day, even in a couple of years, due to everything. So I'm going to take you to a neighborhood, is the city station area called Assendorp in Zwolle. And there we had some issues for mobility. So mobility issues are the key driver, and adapting to climate adaptation is a part of the solution for a bigger and more robust blue-green structure. As you can see on this detail level, water is also abundant in the entire city, except in the neighborhood of Assendorp. And the station area is, this is a picture from the 1900s. And it was always a square where people could meet, people would stay, but also people used to get into different types of transportation. So it was even back then a big transportation hub. And as you can see at this area photo from 2017, it was for over more than a decade, it was still that in use. But due to the growth of the city, due to the growth of the schools and in the districts and the office districts on the other side of the station area, the municipality had chosen to transfer the bus area and the overseas areas to the other side of the station. And with the space that was vacant, there was a desire for some parking spaces for the bikes, and but we as advisors for the climate change, we looked at it on we zoomed out for with our principals, and this is a picture of the ground levels. And as you can see, the here where my arrow is located is the city station, and the red line are the higher, roughly about 1.5 meters higher, and this is just below ground level. So due to this neighborhood is a lower class neighborhood with a lot of concrete, asphalt, and bricks, all the stormwater will run off directly poured into this area. As you can see on the model scales that we made here, this used to be an old mode for water systems and transportations, but it was closed up due to buildings, and people were facing with different types of water problems. And in the summer, we had another problem. In the summer, this is the heat map of Zwolle, and you can see that the entire neighborhood, but also the people that were living as well, were in conditions over 50 degrees on a summer day. So for this, like I said before, climate adaptation, it wasn't the problem. The mobility issue was the problem, but climate adaptation can be the solution. And therefore we have to go a bit underground, because on this area we used for the city center some infiltration with big plots of infiltration crates, and the bike cellar can be used in extreme situations also as another buffer tank for 600,000 cubic meters of water if necessary. So the entire area can be held dry in extreme situations due to the construction of this blue and green area where people now are staying again. And also they can use it as a parking space for the bikes, but not on ground level, just below it in the cellar. And the solutions therefore that we used were the infiltration and drainage systems within the roads, and some small gutters to transport and direct the water into the crates. And also on the green leafage, some extra infiltration systems and drainage systems to maintain the water for dry periods. And the storage in the water, we used the cubic plus crates for. In total is a capacity of 600,000, and that was enough designed for the entire city. Here I have some pictures because everything is underground, but yeah, I would like to prove, yeah, we used it because, well, we really do something about it. And this is how it looks now. And well, thankful for this presentation. Last summer, we had a summer storm in the Netherlands that was a direct hit above Zwolle and above this city area. And within a 1.5 hour, we had a summer storm for roughly about 90 to 100 millimeters per square meter in 1 hour. And this is what it looked like. And all the water has to be transferred to the crates through gutters and pipes. And just this is what it looked like. This is not how it normally looks like, but with summer storms, this was the image for roughly a couple of days, 1 to 2 days, and people were having problems with the cellars and water was everywhere. And due to the constructions, this was the area just roughly 2 hours later. And everything. So we can have a better future for everybody, but mainly the children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Lennart. That's very informative and really exciting work that you're doing. In the interest of time, we'll be able to do one round of Q&As. There are a couple of questions in the chat, and they're directed at Lennart and Dr. Alejandra. Are the adaptation toolkit in Rio and the climate adaptive principles in Zwolle developed for internal city region use, or are they for raising awareness and action in your population as well? So I'll hand over this question to you, and please keep in mind we're quite short on time, so please keep your answers as concise as possible. Thank you.
Well, of course, thank you for the question, and of course the invite for contact after this presentation for further information and advice. But of course, no, the spatial development and climate adaptation tools is not solely for Zwolle. It's just how better, but it's low for the location of Zwolle. But maybe if so you can use some and help to make it better, but it's freely available for everybody.
Wonderful. Dr. Alejandra, how about on your case, the toolkit you presented, is it also accessible to other cities, but also people living in Rio as well, for them to understand and to contribute to climate change?
I couldn't understand your question. Could you please repeat for me?
Sure. The question is, are the toolkit that you mentioned in Rio, is it developed for the city or the region to use, or is it also accessible to raise awareness and action among people and population of Rio as well? So is it accessible to others, and do they have ability to use it to address climate change?
In fact, this toolkit and the strategies are open to anyone. You can use in any place, adapting to each situation. In fact, what we are presenting is adaptation guides, an adaptation guide in order to inspire everyone, using quality and quantity water controls, and also all these strategies that I showed to you. But it's open to anyone, and it was also discussed within the stakeholders in Rio de Janeiro.
Wonderful, that's great to hear. And we'll be sharing the slide deck that everyone presented, so you can also have access to these plans and strategies that have been presented. With that, I will close the session. Thank you, everyone, both our panelists and our attendees, for giving us your time. As mentioned, we'll be uploading the slides and the recordings of the session to our website. A link has been shared in the chat for you to access that. Lastly, the next CFL session in March will be on adaptive and agile spaces, and will be a bit of a different time to accommodate people joining in from Asia. And we will be sharing more communication with you on that soon. Again, thank you, and see you in a couple of weeks. Have a good one.